mahakamani kwa sababu nyinginezo. Pengine naweza kutaja, nimeona kwamba kuna mgombea mmoja ambaye hakuidhinishwa kuweza kushiriki katika uchaguzi kama mgombea rasmi, ambaye nimeona alitangaza kwamba ataelekea mahakamani pia. Kwa hivyo kutakuwa na sababu tofauti, na kwa sababu katiba inaruhusu Mkenya yote ambaye ataweza kufanikisha vigezo vya kikatiba na sheria nyinginezo kuweza kuelekea mahakamani. Kwa hivyo kama tunavyosema, yale ambayo tumeona kwa wale makamishna wanne kujiondoa, na wamesema tu kwamba kulikuwa hakuna uwazi wa kutosha, lakini hawajatoa maelezo ya ziada, na nadhani pengine hawakutoa hayo maelezo manake huo ndio ushahidi wao na wataki kutangaza ushahidi wao kwa sasa. Na pengine kupitia wengine, pengine kupitia kesi ambayo itawasilishwa na wagombea tofauti, wanaweza kutumia ule ushahidi ama wao wenyewe kuelekea mahakamani. Na kwa wao pia ni lazima watoe ushahidi ni kwa nini wanasema ama wanaonelea kwamba kulikuwa hakuna uwazi wa kutosha. Kwa hivyo sio matamshi yao peke yake, lakini ushahidi ambao ni lazima wawasilishe na waweke mbele ya mahakimu ndio ambao utaweza kuamua kama ni kiwango kikubwa ambacho kisheria na kikatiba kitaishawishi mahakama kuweza kubatilisha matokeo kama yalivyotangazwa na mwenyekiti wa tume.
Jeff, I know you're... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Bobby and Titus, I know you can see the celebrations literally live around the country. And the president-elect was quick to thank his worthy opponent. The one section we haven't heard from so far is Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Party.
We may have.
We may have. Go
a tweet posted 5 minutes ago by the Azimio la Umoja Deputy President candidate Martha Karua. She stated, "It is not over till it is over."
Oh.
So that's her statement so far.
It's not over until it is over.
Until it's over. I think a clear indication that what these learned gentlemen here next to us are saying is true. You'll probably be seeing a Supreme Court petition very soon. They have about 7 days to do so, and that's expected to happen. But Jeff, there's a lot happening around the country, isn't there?
Absolutely. Celebrations from Kerugoya to Eldoret to Nyeri, all over, in points in between. People are literally in the streets celebrating the win of Kenya's 5th President-elect William Samoei Arap Ruto.
But Jeff, even as we continue to show those celebrations, there's a commission that, and according to that announcement made by the chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, there aren't too many celebrations happening there tonight. He stated when he read out the presidential results that at this moment, 2 of the commissioners and the CEO were injured. He also stated that the Embakasi East returning officer is still missing. Staff members of the IEBC have been arbitrarily arrested with their locations unknown until this time. That's unacceptable. Staff have been profiled as well. And I want to hear from both Titus and Bobby. Bobby, of course, and you are part of the team that put this new constitution together and played a key role in that as well. We did not envision this when we spoke about independent commissions. And I believe Wafula Chebukati must be believed when he puts this evidence public, you know, live on all TV stations.
Yes. And I think part of it, we've been seeing it in social media. So he sort of vindicates because, as you were saying earlier, there's a lot that's been circulating within social media, and we were to take it with a pinch of salt, you know. But when it comes from the chairperson, it sort of confirms that all these incidents have been taking place. And as you rightly put it, you know, for us as a committee of experts, what we were doing was to echo and mirror what Kenyans wanted. And I think Kenyans did not envision or anticipate that would come to have such issues, especially to do with the elections management body, when you look at how it is constituted, the parameters around its independence, itself, as a commission, but also broadly as a Chapter 15 commission in the Constitution, the independence of particular commissioners, and all these were done again within the prescription that the IREC Commission, popularly known as the Kriegler's Commission, that interrogated what went wrong and had been going on with the management of elections in our country, and especially so the 2007 elections that was led by the now defunct ECK. And so what you see in the current constitution is an echo of the prescriptions from the Kriegler's Commission, but also the views that came from Kenyans when the guy-led commission, the CKRC Commission, that collected views from all corners of the country as to what Kenyans wanted in the Constitution, speak to. So Kenyans expected elections to be better run and not to see anything like we saw in 2007 and early 2008. I hope we don't get there. I mean, since the 2010 Constitution, yes, we've had contested elections. We fought bitterly, but fortunately, we've had dispute resolution mechanisms that we have adhered to, and especially the Supreme Court. I think the bigger problem for us is political. It's now beyond technical and constitutional, because if you look at what happened in 2007, yes, we had a Supreme Court petition, and one globally, making history. The court nullified, the results thereof and ordered for a repeat election. We know what happened thereafter, unfortunately. And the problem, why I'm saying now is not technical or constitutional, is because in as much as the Supreme Court pronounced itself during that occasion, the political heat did not, subside. And so I think it's around the politics, political, makeup and formations.
Yes, exactly.
That we need to, get into and really interrogate. And I think nationally, not just amongst, a cabal of a political class that wants to make decisions and,
Titus, and I know you want to respond to this, but let me bring to your attention a notice from the Office of the Registrar of the Supreme Court. Yeah. And this is legitimate, the filing of instructions on the filing of a presidential election petition. It's been sent out to all advocates, litigants, and the general public. They give directions that you should file this petition exclusively at the Supreme Court Sub-Registry located at Forodha House, just down the road from adjacent to the Milimani Law Courts, along Upper Hill Close Road. And the instructions are the petition deadline on the last available day of filing, which is 7 days from today, should be before 1400 hours of that day. So I think the court is preparing itself for...
correct, very precisely. Of course, at this juncture, upon the chairperson of IBC making a declaration of the president-elect, Article 140 automatically is invoked, such that any aggrieved party that feels that they've been disenfranchised in any manner, they have a right to approach the Supreme Court, file their petition, and have it heard and determined within the 14 days thereafter. So basically what the registrar, who is an administrator of the Supreme Court, is executing his administrative role of just informing parties or those who seem or feel that they have been aggrieved that, hey, you have now 7 days to approach the court and assert your grievances. So he's basically doing his administrative role. But perhaps to just weigh in onto the issues of violence that have been talked about by the chair.
And concerns about the safety of IBC staff.
It's quite unfortunate that in this time and age, the commissioners or any other person who has been mandated to execute a responsibility that they have been given by the Kenyans under the Constitution could be disenfranchised or threatened in any manner. Our Constitution and our laws provide for dispute resolution mechanisms. Yeah. In case you are aggrieved in any manner, you are free to exhaust all those avenues, because you can imagine if each person in this country resorts to illegal and lawlessness, then we are staring at a state of nature. Yet we are supposed to abide the law.
Naam, wakati huu ambapo tunaona kwamba kuna shangwe, sherehe zinazoendelea katika baadhi ya maeneo, bila shaka kuna sehemu ambazo wale ambao hawakumpigia kura William Samoei Ruto wana manuniko, wana huzuni wakati kama huu. Na katika hotuba yake hapo, rais wa tano aliyechaguliwa William Ruto anasema kwamba wale ambao walikuwa wanampinga hawana chochote cha kuogopa, kwamba hakuna nafasi ya kujaribu kulipiza kisasi, kwamba wanataka kila mmoja kama taifa tuweze kuja pamoja. Ni nini haswa ambacho rais aliyechaguliwa pamoja na yule ambaye hajafurahishwa na matokeo wanapaswa kufanya ili kuhakikisha kwamba taifa linasimama pamoja? Bobby.
Nadhani na hapo awali tulikuwa tathmini nini ambacho wagombea wanapaswa kufanya, na tuliona kikianza jana, wagombea wanajitokeza na kama ni kusalimu amri na kutoa hoja zao za kukubali matokeo, na hilo ni jambo ambalo lilikuwa natarajiwa, na tumemsikia yule ambaye ametawazwa kama mshindi wa uchaguzi wa wakati huu akitaja kama ulivyosema kwamba ndio ni mshindi, lakini kama yeye ni rais, manake ukishatawazwa rais, wewe ni rais wa wote waliokupigia kura, ambao hawakupigia kura, ambao ni wafuasi wako, ambao si wafuasi wako, wanachama wako, si kwa hivyo ni rais wa Kenya wote. Nadhani la busara, na sijui kwa sababu tumeona kwamba vurugu imefika kiasi cha kwamba kuna vita wakati ule. Kwa hivyo kwangu ni kusiwe na chuki cha kiwango kile, kwamba pengine kuanzia kesho kuna jinsi na mikakati ambayo na wahusika vizuri. Tumeona viongozi wa kidini ambao walikuwa pale, na nadhani hata walipotoka katika ukumbi wa Bomas watafanya mikutano na watajaribu kukutana na washiriki wote, wadau wote wa pande zote, na kuanza kufanya majadiliano na mikutano ya kujaribu kuwaleta pamoja na kutafuta suluhu. La busara pia ni kwamba pengine tutaweza kusikia kutoka wagombea wengine rasmi, sio kupitia mawakala wao, lakini wao wenyewe rasmi waweze kutoa maoni yao kuhusu yaliyojiri, na pia kutoa mwongozo, manake nadhani wakitoa mwongozo wa ni nini wanachotarajia kufanya, hilo ni jambo ambalo huwa linatuliza hamasa na mchecheto, na haswa kama ulivyosema katika zile sehemu ambazo zina wagombea wale ambao hawakushinda na wafuasi pia wale ambao hawakushinda. Nadhani wakipata taarifa na maelezo na mwongozo kutoka haswa mrengo wa Azimio, basi pengine hamasa zitaweza kutulia, manake watajua pengine tutaelekea mahakamani, kuna daraja nyingine, ama huu ndio mkondo ambao tutachukua. Lakini kwa sasa nadhani ni wadau wengine kama viongozi wa kidini. Najua hapo awali tumeweza kuona tuseme kama ni wanadiplomasia na ambassadors kutoka mataifa mengine wakijaribu kuingilia mambo kama haya, na haya najua yanaendelea kama tunavyozungumza, na kuanzia kesho pia, ili tuweze kupata mwafaka wa kwenda mbele.
Titus and Bobby, you look at live pictures there from Kerogoya. The celebrations literally continuing.
Without doubt, there must be celebrations in those areas because those are areas that perceive to have voted overwhelmingly the president-elect and his deputy.
Yeah.
So, as I explained earlier on in law, more specifically jurisprudence of law, there's something called calculus of felicity, the inherent nature to move towards pain and pleasure. These ones are exhibiting the inherent nature of moving towards pleasure.
I want to refer to a tweet now posted on the official account of the 5th president-elect, and actually his title now on his Twitter account is President-elect Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto. He's quoted from the book of Isaiah, chapter 12, verse 4, which says, "In that day you will say, give praise to the Lord, proclaim his name, make known amongst the nations what he has done, and proclaim that his name is exalted." That's the first post by the president-elect with 4 pictures there. The first picture with him shaking hands with IBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati with Form 34D in hand. The second picture is him and his deputy president-elect, Rigathi Gachagua, displaying that certificate. There's another picture of Wafula Chebukati signing, penning his signature to the certificate to make it legal. And then a picture of him addressing those present at that auditorium at the Bomas of Kenya, the Uchaguzi Hall, to be more specific. So we're getting communication. It's coming in slowly from different leaders, but the president-elect has shared his first post. We've also heard from the deputy president candidate on the Azimio side, and we will continue to monitor formal and online communication and share as soon as we can get that up.
That's right, and do the correction that it was actually the former president of Somalia, Farmajo, who congratulated the president-elect William Ruto. Speaking of which, gentlemen, let me bring you in here. In terms of what we heard Chebukati say, the IDC chair, that the results reflect the will of the people, and these are the same results that are on the public portal. You know, it opened up the servers, as the president-elect had said. How much of a game changer was this election cycle?
I think and again we must remember that IBC thus far was trying to abide by what the Supreme Court prescribed to it when it nullified the 2017 presidential election results. And part of that, thinking within the broader scope of what the Constitution calls for, we did put that as Kenyans as being part of our national values and principles of good governance, and the issue of transparency and also inclusivity and public participation. That in ensuring that the results, and especially those from the polling station, are made available to every Kenyan at the time of their declaration is done, did greatly infuse transparency and to a certain extent credibility. Unfortunately, up to these latter stages of verifying the same results. And again, I think what it does is it helps the commission, because I think that's what the chairman was saying. If you have any doubt about what I've pronounced, it's as simple as you getting out a calculator, accessing the forms. Yes, there is the technical challenge of downloading the 46,000 plus forms, but there are many Kenyans who've actually undertaken that task, and they have been providing what their results are. And I believe probably now, henceforth, more will actually do it to see whether their tallies do agree with that of Chebukati's. And I think to a great extent, that may be what gives him the confidence that at the end of the day, he may be publicly vindicated because in 2017 the problem was servers being closed, passwords are unavailable until today, but in 2022 it's open for all on Sunday to look into and see whether what the commission has reported to Kenyans does add up. So in terms of infusing transparency, in terms of bringing about credibility, which at the end of the day also perhaps now examination through the Supreme Court process will let us know whether this was a free and fair election. I think that's what will help, that it's not only a limited number of people who have access to certain information, but now it's everyone who can actually access and look into. Unless now we can have valid evidence, and I think that's what will need to be presented in court, that perhaps the transmission or the forms had there was intervention into the system. I think that's the only thing that can now damage the entire exercise of availing information to the public during this exercise.
Nadhani kuna ujumbe mwingine ambao umetoka kwa Rais William Samoei Ruto katika mtandao wa Twitter. Awali Wadija alikuwa amesoma kwanza na bado tu anaendelea kutoa ujumbe wake, ujumbe ambao unatoka kwa maandiko matakatifu. Jeremiah 29:11 nasema, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Nadhani tukizidi tu kuzungumzia swala hili, kuna jambo lingine ambalo rais ambaye amechaguliwa amelitaja kwamba atahakikisha ile serikali ambayo anaiendesha itakuwa na uwazi na itakuwa na demokrasia, na akisema kwamba ataweka nafasi ya upande wa upinzani kufuatilia yale ambayo utawala wake utakuwa unafanya. Matamshi kama haya yanatoa imani kwa Wakenya kuhusiana na ile serikali ambayo tutarajia iwapo hakutakuwa na kesi mahakamani au kama ataapishwa baadaye. Titus.
Kwa kawaida sidhani kwamba kuna mtu ambaye amechaguliwa tu anaweza sema ya kwamba serikali yangu haitakuwa na uwazi. So kwa hivyo kulingana na pale ambapo mimi nakaa, yule yeyote ambaye amechaguliwa lazima aonyeshe ya kwamba atawahudumia watu wote, atawahudumia Wakenya wote. Lakini sasa ni muda ndio ambao utatuwezesha kujua kama kweli anamaanisha kile anasema, vile ambapo ataweza kuanza shughuli za serikali ikiwa koti na ikiwa hizi tetesi zote ambazo upande wa Azimio zitaweza kuletwa na koti ya Moi. Sasa wakati ule ambao kweli ataanza shughuli yake ya kuongoza, tutaweza kujua kama kweli alikuwa anamaanisha vile ambavyo amesema.
Kwa hivyo bado kibarua kipo.
Kibarua kipo, na vizuri ni kwamba huu mchakato kama tumeona ama tulivyotaja, kulikuwa na hali ya, ama kiwango chake cha uwazi kilikuwa ni bora tukilinganisha na chaguzi za hapo awali, na pia hawa ni wagombea wote ambao walijitokeza na kutangaza ilani zao, manifesto zao, na wananchi wanazifahamu, na haswa rais mteule yeye alitumia mbinu ya kwamba alienda na kukutana na watu katika maeneo tofauti na kujadiliana na watu, na mwishowe kama alivyotangaza manifesto yake ama kama alivyoita plan ama mpango, alitaja kwamba ni mpango ambao umetokana na matakwa na ushauri na mahitaji ya watu. Kwa hivyo kwa hayo, na endapo yeye mwishowe atakuwa ameamuliwa kuwa ndio rais, kwa maanake mchakato hujakamilika, endapo yeye ndio ataapishwa kama rais, basi wananchi wa Kenya watampima na yale ambayo ameyatangaza katika manifesto yake, na pia tukumbuke kwamba yeye kama kiongozi ama kama rais atakula kiapo cha kuilinda katiba na kufuata sheria, na kwa mjibu huo pia Wakenya wataweza kumpima kama anaendesha shughuli zake kikatiba na kisheria na mipango yake kwa mjibu wa manifesto ambayo aliafikiana na wananchi, kama hayo mambo ambayo aliyoafikiana nao anayatekeleza. Kwa hivyo nadhani hapo kutakuwa na mbinu mzuri ama mkakati mzuri wa Wakenya kuweza kutathmini utendakazi wake.
Gentlemen, I'm actually scouring the IEBC Elections Act 2011 to get a sense of some of the questions our viewers are asking us, of course, about the absence of those 4 commissioners as the results were being read there at the Bomas of Kenya, and also what are some of the possible rules and subsections of the whole process, the Constitution that could
and in this election, like in all other elections, the outcome of the election is declared by the returning officer. It is not declared by the Commission. The same way all other elections of MCAs, of members of parliament, of governors, they are declared by the returning officer for that election. The returning officer for the presidential election is the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, in this case. And Wafula Chebukati has discharged his constitutional responsibility and declared the results of the presidential election. Any person with issues about this election, they know what to do. It will not be the first time. We are a democratic country. We have built robust institutions that can undertake the resolution of any issue if anybody has. Whatever person, whether they are the other commissioners or other Kenyans or my competitors, whatever issues they have, they know what to do.
Mr. President, I'm Frederick from NTV. Almost half the country voted for you. The other half did not vote for you. What are you going to do to the other half? Are we going to see a new handshake?
I think when you go to an election, the outcome is determined by the people of Kenya. In this case, the people of Kenya have voted for me as the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, an honor I don't take for granted. Like in all other democracies, Kenya is not an exception. The people of Kenya have spoken, and we need to respect what the people of Kenya have said. My competitors have a role to play, just the same way I said in my statement this evening, that I will work with my competitors in the role that the Constitution assigns the people in the opposition. They will provide oversight over my government, and I intend to work with them in that capacity. I never believed in the handshake stories. I made my position very clear because I believe in democracy. I believe in a government that has checks and balances. When you have a government that does not have the opposition, you run the very high risk of having a government that is not accountable. Precisely what we have seen over the last 4 years, that we have had a situation where people who are supposed to be in the opposition are actually running matters in the executive. And that is why the people of Kenya voted for me and my team. They want a government that has checks and balances, and they want a government that is accountable. They do not want a mongrel of a government that Nobody knows who is in the executive, who is in the opposition, who is doing what. I think the people of Kenya want clarity because we are Democrats. And for the record, in this election, just to answer what you have said, if you look at our TV screens, the celebration is across Kenya because I got 25% in 39 counties out of 47 counties. That tells you that our support base and the people who voted for us are across Kenya. So there will not be any part of Kenya that will be left behind in our administration because we believe in an inclusive, democratic, progressive government. And that is what we intend to assemble.
Mr. President, have you had any conversation?
Relax, don't relax. I'm here. I'm not.
Yeah. A quick one. You talked about the support that the president has given you in the last 10 years. Has he commented to you about your victory? And number two, what is going to be your immediate assignment now that you've been given that mandate?
I haven't talked to Uhuru Kenyatta, our outgoing president, but I am sure there will be a conversation because now I am the president-elect and there has to be a transition. And in that transition, I am sure there will be a discussion between the current president and myself, either at the transition committee situation, or I am sure that at some point this evening, maybe tomorrow, we will have a conversation. Again, as a Democrat, maybe I should disclose that this morning I called my competitor, the Honorable Raila Odinga, and I had a discussion with him. And we agreed that whatever the outcome of this election, we should have a conversation. He had offered in his statement, his closing statement in Kasarani, that he would be available for a handshake, you remember? And I said that I'd be available for us to have a cup of tea because there are areas we can agree on moving the country forward in the context of those of us who will be running the executive. And I'm sure my competitor will take up his role and his team as the opposition so that we can see how we can move the country forward.
Kashuri,
The second question.
Let me listen to the lady. The lady first.
Thank you, sir. My name is Leila Mohammed from NTV.
Yes, Leila.
At the moment, we see celebrations, but we are also aware that in certain areas there are protests against your declaration of being the president-elect. At this particular moment, how do you speak to the entire country in your vision of uniting people who have a past of being disenfranchised?
As I have said, my support base and my team's support base is broad. We obtained 25% of the vote in 39 counties. That leaves only 8 counties. And even in those 8 counties, it's just that we didn't make it to 25%. It doesn't mean we didn't get any votes. So we have supporters across Kenya. I also want to state here and now that the administration, President Kenyatta and I established in 2013, we tried the best we could to serve all parts of the country equally. If you look at all the programs we ran, whether there were programs on rural electrification, whether there were programs on Tibet, whether there were programs on equipment for hospitals, whether there were programs on making sure that we spread infrastructure, we endeavored to reach every part of Kenya. That is our philosophy. As I have said, we believe in an inclusive government, and in any case, the people of Kenya have spoken very loudly in this election, and they have spoken against negative ethnicity. In fact, in this election, the people of Kenya have raised the bar on leadership of Kenya. The people of Kenya have voted for a plan, as we christened it, or a manifesto, or an agenda for that matter. And if you had the discussion in the campaign, it was our issues versus our competitors' issues. And we intend to keep it that way. And for your information, if you looked at my position about 3 years ago, I actually made the declaration to the people of Kenya that this election, we are going to make it not about leaders, but about the people. Not about power sharing, but about empowerment. And not about positions for us as leaders, but about jobs for ordinary people. If you go back my tweets, I think in maybe 2019 or 2020, that was my position. And I am very proud that we have managed to elevate the contest in Kenya to the level of issues. And because we have elevated that conversation, it is my belief, my commitment, and my undertaking to the people of Kenya that we will have an all-inclusive government by way of representation and by way of making sure that we roll out our programs across Kenya.
President, you take over a government at a time when people are hungry. Some people are angry. The cost of living is high. We're coming from the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is your priority right now? What do you tell the many people who cannot put food on the table? What do you tell the young jobless people who queue to vote for you?
That's why I said in my acceptance speech that I am acutely aware of the situation where we are as a country. I am aware of the cost of living. I am aware of the situation with the young people of our country. And that is why I made those very pertinent issues part of my campaign and part of my platform and part of what we intend to do as an administration. These are issues that are dear to the people of Kenya. And that's also why I said we do not have the luxury of arguments left, right, and center. We intend to hit the ground running. I am preparing myself that on day one of swearing in as president, when I have the legal power to do things, I have lined up a couple of executive orders on what I intend to do to get the country moving and to get the situation in the country under control.
President, you, at this point, as you are elected president at this point, we recall the 2017 that the courts have precedence, despite the fact that you are saying it's over. In the spirit of democracy, should your competitor move to court, are you in any ruling that maybe a run or repeat of elections, democratically, will you respect such a decision? Should it come your way at this point?
As I have said, I'm a Democrat. I believe in the rule of law. I respect all our institutions. That's why our team, as you observed in Bomas here, wanted to give the IEBC as an institution the opportunity to discharge their mandate. Our competitors, I don't know whether they share with us that kind of belief. But as a Democrat, we will respect, just the same way we have respected the wishes of the people of Kenya in this election. we will respect every other decision of any institution because we are believers in building our institutions, and we are strong believers that it's only the rule of law that can take this country forward. Yes, Gashuri?
Yeah, congratulations. What would, in your opinion, be the highlights of the campaigns that you've conducted? And to Kenyans, millions of them who witnessed the scenes that you saw at Bomas just before your declaration as president-elect, and maybe they are anxious tonight, what would be your message to them?
I think the highlight of this campaign was the fact that for the first time, this campaign was not laced with ethnic, regional biases. That both teams, on our side and on their side, were largely had a national face, largely, which is really a step in the right direction. And the fact that we prosecuted issues that I am convinced that the reason why the people of Kenya voted for me and my team is because they identify with the issues that we prosecuted. What happened this evening is an unfortunate situation. I think it is an attempt by our competitors to roll back what we have achieved as a country. I think Kenya has moved way ahead of the situation that we saw this evening, the unfortunate situation we saw this evening. In fact, I think every Kenyan, irrespective of what side they support, agree that the conduct of the IEBC in this election was phenomenal. I think, as I said, the posting of the results from 34A, the presidential results, from every place, every polling station, every polling station, the posting of those results from every polling station was a stroke of a genius. Because I think within six hours of the counting of the votes, I think almost 80% of the results were available on that portal. And I am yet to come across anybody who says that what they saw in the portal is not what was declared at the polling station. There is not yet a single person who has said, I was in this polling station, what was declared is not what is on the portal. So I think the fact that the portal was available for every Kenyan to tally the results, first to check the veracity of the results. If you voted in polling station X, you could go to the portal and that polling station X would show you whether those were the results that are declared or not. And secondly, the fact that the IEBC has taken time. We voted on Tuesday. Today is Monday. They took time to accommodate as many people as possible, whatever issues they may have had. I think the IEBC has really bent over backwards to accommodate everybody. And unfortunately, I think there were people who did not want these results to be declared because, surely, even as we came to Bomas, it is only somebody from the moon who did not know the results. Let's be honest with one another. All of us here, with a simple calculator, just with plus and minus, you tally the results. You didn't need a complicated, you didn't need algorithm, you didn't need square root, or all those other complicated things. You just needed a simple calculator and you could add, and the elections were, I think, every institution or every organization that bothered to tally the results came to the same conclusion. Whether it is Reuters, whether it is Al Jazeera, whether it is NTV, whether it is Citizen TV, and all these other people, everybody arrived at the same results. So I don't really know what the argument is all about. When we came to Bomas, I think everybody knew the results. So we just came to fulfill a constitutional mandate that it has to be declared by the chairman of IEBC. Otherwise, in terms of results, surely good people. All of us knew what the results were.
President-elect?
Yes.
Could I ask a question?
And then we'll come back to this lady.
Yes, I have two quick questions. The first question is this. Do you intend to keep your promises on the campaign trail? All of them. Do you intend to do that? And the second question is, from where you sit right now, is this your vindication that everything is possible?
Well, if I didn't believe in what I went out to canvass with the people of Kenya, I wouldn't have gone out there. I intend to keep every commitment, and my team and I have worked out on every detail of the commitments we have made. We have costed the commitments we have made. We have arranged them in terms of what is urgent, what is medium term, what is long term. We know what to do in the first 100 days. We know what to do in the first 3 months. We know what to do continuously until I think we have a program up to the second year. So we intend to keep all our promises. As I speak to you this evening, we have indicated that it is not the deep state and the system and all these other stories. It is the people of Kenya who ultimately hire or fire governments. I think that is the vindication that we all have arrived at. I remember the biggest question that I used to be asked by my supporters is, we are going to vote for you, but we understand there is a system under deep state that will not allow you to be president, that will steal your vote. And I kept on assuring them that I was the deputy president. If there was a deep state, I would know. If there was a system, I would know. And I think today, all the narratives around the deep state and the system have come to naught. I think people now know that it is the power of their vote, as is provided for in the Constitution, that the people of Kenya, they have their vote is what is sovereign, is what determines whether we have a government or which type of government and which type of leaders and who gets elected. It's the people. I think, bottom line, not that there were no attempts. I think with the time, you will know all these games that have been going on around Bomas. I think that will come out with the time. But ultimately, the people of Kenya have been vindicated that they are the ones who decide. Yes, madam. Sorry. Just one moment.
Mr. President, my name is Njeri Kigamba from Kyoto FM. When you had the debate, we heard you talk about the insecurity in some parts of Rift Valley, and you tried to help and solve the insecurity issues. Now being the president and elect in the Republic of Kenya, what plan do you have to solve the issue completely?
We have a costed, time-bound plan on how to secure Kenya, especially the areas along the Kerio Valley, between Baringo, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Samburu, Turkana, which are the real problem or hotspots, if you allow me to call it. We have a clear plan on what we need to do in that area. And as I have told you, we have a arrange them in terms of what is immediate, what can be done now, and what can be done further down the road. And we will shortly be letting the country know the steps we are going to do to keep our commitment to the people of Kenya, and of course secure the lives and property of Kenyans. That lady has been just one. Sorry.
You have said that the conduct of the Electoral Commission was phenomenal, but we have seen this evening that 4 commissioners have dissolved the outcome of the presidential election. They say that the process was opaque towards the end. What do you make of that, and how do you feel being declared president-elect in the environment that we witnessed in that auditorium today?
This election, to the best of my knowledge, and I believe a majority, the largest majority of Kenyans, know that there was no other outcome of this election. It didn't matter who was looking at it. And maybe we encourage those commissioners and even other Kenyans who have issues with the election. They know what to do. They need to follow the constitutionally provided legal channels of addressing their concerns. So what I am very happy about is that this election was the most transparent ever conducted in the Republic of Kenya. And I believe majority of Kenyans share those views with me. I think even, as I said, even as we came to Bomas, I mean, everybody knew what the result was, you know. Maybe the people who are disappointed this evening is the people who erroneously believed in the deep state or the so-called system, and they erroneously believe that the results could be changed. Unfortunately, it's not possible to change the results, and it's not possible to change the will of the people of Kenya.
Some final question from Declan, then we can close.
Okay.
Just to follow on that, and with the New York Times, the statement by these 4 election commissioners who form a majority of the IEBC, do you think that places any legal question mark on your declaration as President-elect? And you mentioned that you think that the scenes of chaos we saw this evening were designed to roll back your victory. Can you explain to us how do you think, what do you think the intention of those scenes were that they might force you to roll back this election victory?
No, I said that the scenes you saw this evening is not a rollback of my victory, because my victory is in the public domain. I think to roll back our progress as a country, you know, since we slipped in 2007, we have made a lot of progress as a country. In 2013, in 2017, in 2022, I think we made huge strides in the right direction.